You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, the 4 states feels the wrath of Mother Nature as severe weather strikes the region over the weekend.
And the city of Joplin celebrates Juneteenth with a day-long celebration at the city's Bookhouse Cinema and Easttown Dreams District.
And for the most part, we've got sunny, clear skies, and we're going to start to warm back up. We also have some patchy fog out there. Take a look at that full forecast coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. 2 people die after a police chase in southeast Kansas ends with a vehicle hitting 2 semis. It happened on Highway 75 in Coffee County. Authorities say they were chasing 2 suspects in one vehicle on the highway. They say that vehicle tried to pass a semi on the right shoulder, but when it tried to get back in the lane, it hit the semi, and that caused it to go into the other lane where it was hit by a second semi. Both suspects, Travell Moore and Gail Wright, both of Omaha, Nebraska, were killed. The drivers of both semis were not seriously hurt. Well, a judge sentences a Mount Vernon man for his involvement in a methamphetamine distribution. James Mangold pleaded guilty to distribution of methamphetamine and possessing firearms in connection with a drug trafficking crime earlier this year. Authorities searched Mangold's residence and found firearms including a Sig Sauer pistol and a Kel-Tec pistol, as well as methamphetamine, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. Mangold will serve 16 years, 11 months in federal prison. Authorities in Pittsburgh arrest a suspect in a burglary at U.S. Cellular. Last Tuesday, police responded to an alarm at U.S. Cellular where they discovered a broken window and the electric meter removed from the business. That suspect was found in a home in Pittsburgh where the stolen items were also recovered. Authorities say the suspect was arrested for felony burglary, felony theft, misdemeanor criminal damage. Letters with strange white powder turn up across the state of Kansas. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation says approximately 100 letters containing suspicious white powder were sent to Kansas lawmakers and public officials. A small sample of the letters containing the powder was sent to the laboratory specializing in testing biological samples, and preliminary tests have returned from this lab indicating the substance is presumptively negative for common biological agents of concern. A joint investigation between the KBI and the FBI is ongoing.
We've been dealing with some patchy fog dents at some times across the area. You can see most of the patchy fog is in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, but we have seen it across the area. And even though some cities are reporting decent visibility, there's still some rural areas that are dealing with some patchy fog out there as well. So do be aware of that. Right now in Joplin, we've got sunny skies out there. Beautiful start to the day. 64, dew points up to 62, humidity at 93% with a calm breeze. And it's going to be a little bit muggy today as we get into the afternoon. 61, Nevada, Fort Scott, 60, Iola, 63 in Yates Center. We got 62 Pittsburgh, 65 now in Miami and Carthage, and 64 in Neosho. So we get our morning started, fog holding on through about 8 o'clock. Then we're going to go sunny and warm up quick, pushing near 80 by 11 this morning. And as we head into the afternoon, we know we got some storm damage, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But if you're out doing any cleanup or recovery efforts, make sure that you're dressed appropriately, dress safely, and stay well hydrated out there, as it's going to be toasty. So we go highs upper 80s, near 90, and it's going to be sunny. We're not looking at really any clouds today. And we'll stay clear through the evening and into the overnight hours, 73 by 10, overnight lows in the upper 60s. Summer officially arriving Wednesday, and leading into that, we're going to be clear to partly cloudy. We're going to have some upper 80s, low 90s, and then we get into this weekend. Take a look at this, mid 90s, maybe some pop-up storms on Sunday, and then look at that overnight low Saturday night, pushing near 80 for a low. Tanya?
All right, talked about storms, and Saturday night storms caused damage throughout the 4 states, and these are photos sent in by viewers from Joplin, Neosho, Carthage, Pittsburgh, Miami, Wyandotte, Tulsa, Grand Lake, and Jenks. As you can see, trees were knocked over and in some cases damaged homes and vehicles. Storms also took out power for hundreds of area residents, and you can send in your storm damage photos on our Facebook page. The city of Grove, Oklahoma was hit especially hard. The National Weather Service issued a tornado warning there late Saturday night, but there were no reports of any touching down. However, the strong winds brought down lots of trees and power lines, and hundreds of residents were without power for much of the day, with some still reporting outages.
Not quite what we had in mind, but you know, sometimes God gives us fathers a chance to show off all our abilities, and today I've had my chainsaw out and my trailer out and doing all my dad's stuff.
Northeast Oklahoma Electric Cooperative says efforts to fully restore power could extend into the week. Today marks Juneteenth, a holiday commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States, and one of the 4 states' most prominent figures, George Washington Carver, is also one of its most inspirational. Born into slavery in 1864, George Washington Carver went on to become one of the most celebrated American scientists. His is a story of personal perseverance that anyone can draw encouragement.
Like George Washington Carver, you know, we all have obstacles at some point in our life, and sometimes people will give up, but with this story of George Washington Carver, we try to, you know, encourage or instill in especially students to never giving up and being like George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver National Monument is located in Diamond, Missouri. Speaking of Juneteenth, Bookhouse Cinema in Easttown Dreams District in Joplin celebrates Juneteenth with a day-long celebration on Saturday featuring a variety of activities. The event featured vendors, a 5K run, free movies, and dance performances.
It's a celebration of heritage, it's a celebration of freedom, it's a celebration for everybody to be included. Because July the 4th, while that's considered America's holiday, America's Freedom Day, and that's fine, I celebrate it too, love it. But we also need to make sure that everybody is included.
The event continued on into the weekend with its Sunday Soul Food event. Up next, good news for men undergoing testosterone replacement therapy as the procedure appears to not raise any major heart risk.
And later, if the future resides in electric vehicles, then the future is now for a fleet of EV police cars in one city. We'll have more on that. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Care options, affordable prices, and wellness packages for your pet. Mutt Medics, now open at 20th and Main in Joplin.
In Health Watch this morning, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is asking vaccine makers to develop a new COVID booster for the fall. The FDA wants the seasonal shot to target the Omicron spinoff XBB 1.5. The new strain is already circulating through the public. Health officials are also wanting the latest vaccine to be single strain, which means the booster would only target this new variant and not the original strain of COVID or its earlier mutations. Researchers say the older strains have evolved and are no longer a public threat. Also, compared to the multi-strain shot, it's believed the single strain booster will be more effective against the immediate threat. Testosterone replacement therapy does not appear to raise any major heart risk. That's according to the largest study yet of the treatment. Researchers looked at 5,000 men ages 45 to 80 who had low testosterone levels and a high risk of cardiovascular disease. They found the group that took testosterone replacement therapy and the placebo group had no difference in the rate of heart attacks or strokes. Researchers did find a higher incidence of irregular heartbeat, acute kidney injury, and pulmonary embolism in the testosterone group, but they say it occurred at low rates. The study's author says the findings could help men and their doctors make a more informed decision if testosterone therapy is right for them. The study is published in this week's New England Journal of Medicine. And an organization in Oklahoma is offering fathers a helping hand in the form of someone who can help care for their mental health. Alex Cash has more on this group and how they are helping the community.
Leon Skillins is from Skills on Wheels and says dads suffer from mental health problems, but often in silence.
Anxiety, depression, stress, just not being able to be adequate as a father.
Skills on Wheels is a non-profit offering therapy sessions to people in North Tulsa who can't access resources. They have a mobile mental health unit in an RV, and they're trying to help dads in North Tulsa who might be struggling with mental health issues.
We want to target that dad, that 8 to 5 dad, that working dad, the dad who doesn't look as if he has those issues, but he really does. Mental health is a big issue amongst men these days, and what's happening is studies are saying and research is really telling us that when men are down or their mentals are down, it affects everybody in the house.
The National Institutes of Health carried out a study in 2019 and found men are significantly less likely to seek help for mental health issues. Skillins says that can be down to pride. He says he's trying to change that.
We are struggling to tap into our inner spirits. We want to look at just the outside. We want to go to the gym. We want to feed ourselves the protein, the creatine, but we don't want to take care of the inside, the heart, the brain, the mind, body, and spirit. So those things are vitally important for me in this day and time, especially post-pandemic.
Skillins has launched a new program called Sewing into Fathers, hoping to help North Tulsa dads.
And we want to just pat them on the back and be an ear for them to vent to, a shoulder for them to lean on. And we just want to pat them on the back and say, hey, we're here for you. There is hope that you can be a strong father so that you can create a strong family for you and yours. And to leave a legacy that's not about negativity, that's attached to gang violence or street violence or drugs.
All right, we've got ourselves some foggy conditions out there across the area. We're looking right now at the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range Line. Looking good in Joplin so far. We're not too bad across the area. Let's take a look at the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue. Still a little bit of light fog out there. And from our camera here at the KOAM studios, not as dense as it was, a little easier to see out there, but still some patchy fog across the area, which we can see on the fog tracker. We've had most of this patchy fog confined to southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, but has been overspreading into southwest Missouri. And of course, some of the rural roads and back roads out there have a little more dense fog to deal with as well. We're going to have another complete look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Big discounts and a free lifetime warranty. That's Frank Fletcher Subaru, behind Home Depot in Joplin, or shop FletcherSubaru.com.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. So we've been talking about that patchy fog out there this morning, so do be aware of that if you are traveling, especially in some of the rural and back roads where it's a little more dense right now. But that's going to start to really clear out over the next half hour, 45 minutes. Right now in Joplin, 64, obviously sunny skies, very clear out there, and it's going to stay that way. Dew point 62, humidity is at 93%, so it's just a little on the muggy side, and it's going to stay that way through today. All right, we got 61 Stockton, Nevada, Fort Scott, and Parsons, 65 in Chanute, 64 Chetopa, 65 Miami, Carthage, and 64 in the Ocean. As we get our morning started again, that fog should be burning off right around 8 o'clock or so, leaving us sunny and warm as we start to climb near 80 degrees by late morning. That's ahead of a pretty toasty day out there as high temperatures pushing upper 80s near 90. So if you're out cleaning up after some of the storm damage from yesterday, make sure you're taking appropriate precautions. You're doing what you can to stay cool and you're staying hydrated because we're not really looking at any opportunities for some shade out there. We're just sunny skies and warm. So again, make sure you're just being cautious. As we head through the evening, not much cooling yet. 88 by 6, 84 by 8, and 73 by 10. Overnight lows staying mild into the upper 60s. First day of summer Wednesday, leading into that upper 80s, low 90s, sunny to partly cloudy skies. Maybe a stray shower or two for, say, Elk or Chautauqua County on Wednesday, but I think most of us just dry, unfortunately. Heating up by this weekend, we're talking mid-90s, pop-up storm Sunday. Look at the low Saturday night into Sunday, just barely below 80 degrees overnight. So staying quite warm across the area. Well, electric vehicles aren't just the future of cars, it's the future of police cars. Chris Van Cleve shows us how, for the New York Police Department, the future is now.
Meet the Big Apple's newest viral hit. The NYPD is deploying nearly 200 fully electric Ford Mustang Mach-E's to see how well EVs hold up to the rigors of patrol.
Did you ever think there'd be a day where you'd be plugging in your police cars?
No, not at all.
First Deputy Commissioner Edward Caban.
So I think back of my time in my career where we had the Grand Furies, the Capris, there were gas guzzlers. This is a game changer.
These Mach-E's have more horsepower, torque, and advanced safety features, along with faster acceleration and braking than any other vehicle in the NYPD fleet.
All right, let's see how this goes.
We experienced it firsthand.
Stay close to the left, close to the left, close to the left, slam on those brakes.
Well, there went some cones.
Departments nationwide are adding EVs. In South Pasadena, California, the police are going all electric. The NYPD hopes to eventually electrify more than 9,000 vehicles.
Do you feel like this is just as capable of a police car as a gas-powered car?
I do, yeah. I think if it's managed properly and gets
plugged in at night,
yes, it can be used very effectively.
Making the NYPD blue a little more green. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, New York.
Well, we've got more on your forecast and a perfect Civil War story for Juneteenth right after the break.
On select Brogue trims.
Hurry. These epic offers won't last forever.
It's an honor 126 years in the making.
On Saturday, a black Civil War veteran finally received the recognition for his service.
Virginia Hui has the details.
Behind the United Methodist Church in Hauppauge, in a place where warriors rest, a long overdue honor for Civil War hero Alfred Griffin of Smithtown.
We remember his service to our nation and community.
Griffin was self-emancipated, fighting off bloodhounds while escaping slavery. He later joined the Navy to fight for the Union during the Civil War. In 1897, Griffin was buried in the Hauppauge Rural Cemetery without military honors. His gravesite went unmarked for 126 years.
We felt that it was time to undo a terrible injustice and to take care of this so that he's not forgotten.
Part of the reason why Griffin didn't have a headstone is because his first name was unknown to cemetery trustees for decades. That changed recently when a local historian tracked down Griffin's veterans pension document in Smithtown. On it, he wrote, "My name is Alfred Griffin."
At the twilight's last gleaming.
The trustees of the cemetery provided the documentation to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, who paid for and delivered the military headstone to be dedicated in time for Juneteenth.
He symbolizes service to the nation. He symbolizes hope because he fought his way out of slavery. Now he has his full name on a stone, so he won't be forgotten.
Griffin's flag was presented to Deacon James Cornigans, who accepted the honor on behalf of Griffin's family.
I just think it's an awesome thing that they would honor somebody from so long ago.
The remembrance ceremony also honored World War I veteran David Walker and Civil War veteran Wesley Wheeler with new marble markers. A final salute, more than a century in the making, accomplished.
Griffin served on 5 different ships during his Civil War service.
He achieved the rank of landsman and was known as a master bricklayer.
It's great that they were able to finally provide these honors for him, and it's incredible too about records of that period. You know, they didn't even know his first name they said decades. Right. Before they even figured out exactly who he was that was buried there. So it was great to be able to get those honors, great to see them come together, and great to see them all in those Civil War uniforms as well. I think that just made it more appropriate, more fitting.
Very impressive.
Well, we've got more of the KOAM morning news, including another check of your forecast and some of our local headlines when we come back.
Music of Joplin native Percy Winrick. Showtimes 5 and 7:30 p.m. Thursday, June 22nd at the Bookhouse Cinema. Free admission, a Joplin sesquicentennial event.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:28. Now, Prairie State Park in Missouri held a herp event to help the community learn more about reptiles and amphibians. Attendees were able to hold the reptiles while learning various facts and dispelling rumors and myths about them. Take-home crafts were available for everyone at the event.
I teach people about the reptiles in Missouri, just the common species and the native species. I do my research and I want to conserve these species and teach more about them, because I hate when they get killed or they get harmed because people don't know how to properly identify them.
The event ran from 10 to 3 on Saturday. The city of Lamar, Missouri celebrates its 100th anniversary. The city hosted a party in the city a party in the city park over the weekend. It featured plenty of fun activities, food trucks, a beverage garden, and ended with a free concert by a group called the Mixtapes. Officials say the party is a great way to get the community out to celebrate the city's history.
It's just a way to thank our community for all the support they've given the park over the last 100 years. It's great to see all of our community come together here and just be able to have a good time together, and most of it's free.
You can always learn more about 4 state events by going to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Pittsburgh Festival of the Arts comes to a close at Pittsburgh State University. The festival consisted of week-long free concerts for the community to enjoy. Attendees were able to enjoy music from the Summer Kicks Jazz Band, which is comprised of local musicians, including faculty, students, alumni, and community members. And on display at the Bicknell Center throughout the month of June is an exhibit from the collection of the Jim Halsey Company.
It's a lot of fun, and I think it's fun for the band. It's a challenge because you're coming in, and I'm not necessarily picking nothing but easy music. Some of it's very difficult, so they come in, they read it, they play it, and we have a couple of students in the band.
The exhibit is available to be seen during the week, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Well, we've got some patchy fog out there this morning. That will start to burn off here shortly. In fact, in some places already doing so. It'll be out of here by about 8. Then we got a warm day lined up for us as we have sunny skies pushing near 80 by 11 this morning. Afternoon highs today starting to feel like summer again as we go upper 80s right near 90 degrees. Sunny skies. So if you're doing any cleanup or recovery from the weekend storms, just make sure you're staying hydrated and that you're taking breaks and just being cautious out there because it's going to be a little bit on the hot side across the area. As we head into this evening, we're looking at 88 by 6, 84 by 8, and 73 by 10. So a fairly mild evening. As you can see, not expecting any cloud cover out there whatsoever. Overnight lows tonight back into the upper 60s. So a pretty mild overnight, and it's only going to get warmer from here as we officially kick off summer on Wednesday. We go into our Tuesday, sunny skies. Warm, low 90s again for the first day of summer. Now, for our friends out in, say, Elk or Chautauqua County, there's that chance you might see a stray shower or two from some activity. It'll be further to our west, but odds are we're all going to stay dry. So even though we got a good soaking over the weekend, we need a lot more rain, and at least for the next several days, a lot more rain is not in our forecast, but a lot more heat certainly is. Upper 80s, low 90s. I'm sure some of you are going to wish it was the other way around. Mid 90s this weekend, maybe some pop-up storms on Sunday. Overnight lows Saturday night into Sunday. We're talking going into the upper 70s. We're pushing near 80 degrees for an overnight low as we head into Saturday night. Then, as we head into the start of next week, cooler, about 90 on Monday, maybe some additional pop-up storms, and that lasts very briefly as temperatures surge again, mid to upper 90s as we head toward the middle of next week. And we've got overnight lows back into the 70s, so some very mild evenings out there for us. And as we mentioned earlier, Delaware County, northeast Oklahoma, heat advisory today and for a good portion of northeast Oklahoma, simply because, not that it's going to be oppressively hot, but there's hundreds of thousands of people without power in eastern Oklahoma. And today's highs, even into the low 90s, with a little bit of humidity, is going to make it dangerous. So if you are out there doing any kind of work, those folks down there, no power and outside doing a lot of cleanup, just again, make sure you're taking it easy in the heat today. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Pet owners in southeast Kansas were able to get some peace of mind and keep their fur buddies a little safer. Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted a microchip clinic event over the weekend. KOAM's Shagun Bombadeli has more.
As the 4th of July approaches, the Southeast Kansas Humane Center is hosting an event to help pet owners in case their animals go missing.
We'll insert a chip in them. It's just as small as like a grain of rice, and it will stay in them for all of their life. And it's only if they were to escape and then get picked up by someone and taken to a shelter, and then have them scanned for a chip, and it'll come back under the owner's name.
Kelsey says some pets might be terrified of the fireworks on Independence Day.
Important, especially with the 4th of July coming up. Pets usually go missing around this time. So, it's every 1 in 3 animals would go missing in their lifetime. So it's really important for owners to just be up to date on all their vaccinations and getting them chipped just so they can always stay at home with them.
The chips are not a tracking device, but more of an identification card.
People think that a microchip is kind of like a tracking device, and it's not. Most of the time an animal will get picked up by someone, and if they end up liking the animal and keeping it, they will realize, this is probably someone's pet, and then take them into a shelter to get them scanned to see if they have a chip, to see if it's anybody's pet.
In Pittsburgh, Shagbamdele, KOAM News.
More than 9 animals were microchipped during the event. This morning, we're discussing Juneteenth.
Juneteenth marks the day that the last enslaved African Americans in the U.S. learned of their emancipation. Before Juneteenth became an official federal holiday, it was already observed as a state or ceremonial holiday in 48 states as well as D.C.
Although communities have celebrated Juneteenth for more than 150 years, calls grew to establish it as a federal holiday during the summer of 2020. On June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden signed legislation making Juneteenth a federal holiday after Congress passed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act that same month.
And that brings us to our question for you this morning. Our poll there is starting to work now. We want to know how you're going to be spending Juneteenth. So far, 27% of you say you're doing what we're doing. You're working. 67% of you say you're not doing any of the things that we gave as options. And 6% of you say you're going to be doing some learning about history and or some community involvement out there. So make sure you take time to vote through our website, through our app, and take part in discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, experts blame a group of Russian hackers for waging a war of ones and zeros on agencies across the nation. We've got tips on how to protect yourself from high-tech theft.
And as the fog burns off, we are looking at a clear, sunny, warm Monday for us. We'll take another look at that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Well, swimming in the open ocean can be a scary and dangerous thing. Fortunately for one young man, help was there when he needed it.
There's people out there in the rip currents. So I quickly grabbed my board and ran towards the rip currents.
That's Timothy Turner. When he's not riding the waves at Holden Beach, he's in the sand making sure everyone is safe. But on Tuesday, things took a turn for the worse when 2 people got stuck in a rip current about 50 yards out from the shore.
A 17-year-old and probably a 45-year-old out there in the water. And they were done. They were out of energy. They were just bobbing and weaving.
That 17-year-old was Seth Enzer. He says he started to feel the water pull him under, but it wasn't until about 5 minutes later that he actually realized he was stuck in a rip current.
But I was still just swimming, trying to get out. And at one point I'd gotten fairly close to getting back to where I could touch and where I'd be able to get back to shore, and I got pulled back under, and I'm not really sure if I passed out or something, but I came back up and I was much further out than where I was. It was very scary because I know I wouldn't be able to get out there alone in any way.
The waves are probably 5 to 6 foot crashing on the shore, so it was very dangerous.
Enzer is from Columbus County and didn't grow up going to the beach much, so he says he didn't know how to get himself out of the rip current. But Oak Island Water Rescue Chief Pete Grenzy says anyone going in the water should know what to do in that situation.
The biggest thing that you can do is not panic. If you're not a strong swimmer, if you can just float. A lot of times the rip current will, once it pops you out, you'll be able to either traverse along the shoreline and ease your way back in. If you are having problems, get a hold of somebody and have them call 911 so you can get the help there.
Enzer says he's thankful that Turner put his life on the line to save his.
That was a very difficult situation. I don't think very many people would have been able to save me. I would just like to express my gratitude and thanks to Mr. Tim again, and how lucky I am for him to be out there.
Well, we still have some patchy fog out there, but it is beginning to burn off. We'll take another look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Morning. Thanks so much as always. If you want to get in touch with the Curly Willow, of course, all that information is right here on your screen.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 7:42 on this Monday morning. We are looking at the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range Line. As you can see, traffic is moving. The skies are clear. The sun is shining. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. Still a little bit of light fog out there, but that beginning to burn off, and you can see some of it off in the distance from the KOAM camera here at our studios just north of Crestline. As we take a look at the fog tracker, you can see still some patchy fog out there, but it is beginning to burn off, and temperatures are really going to start to warm up today. And we're going to take a look at how warm it's going to get here in just a second. I don't know if we want to, but we're going to show you. And then we'll show you the 7-day, and then you may cry, and then you'll be mad at me. But I don't control the weather. I only tell you what it's going to do. All right, 64 in Joplin right now. Dew point up there at 62, humidity 93%, and it's going to stay a pinch on the muggy side through the day. We've got 66 in Nevada, Lamar, Pittsburgh, 65 Fort Scott, up to 67 in Iola, 66 in Miami, and we're sitting at 61 in Neosho this morning. We get our day started. That fog should be out of here by about 8, and then we're going to go sunny skies near 80 by 11 o'clock this morning. That's a sign of things to come, as we've got highs upper 80s near 90, sunny skies, hot. So as we've been mentioning this morning, if you've got any cleanup work to do from the weekend storms, just make sure you're staying hydrated, taking breaks, and getting into shade where you can, as we're not looking at much in the terms of cloud cover. Staying clear as we head through the evening and into the overnight, and staying mild, upper 60s for our overnight lows, and the warmest is yet to come. First official day of summer is Wednesday. We're going to look at low 90s, upper 80s, some partly cloudy skies here and there, otherwise sunny. Then we get into this weekend. Take a look at this if you want to. Maybe you don't want to. You might want to turn away for a moment. Mid-90s this weekend. We go with some pop-up storms possible Sunday. Look at Saturday's overnight low, just barely below 80. We get a brief momentary break from some of the hotter temperatures Monday, maybe some pop-up storms right around 90. As we head into the middle of next week, sunny skies return and summer really kicks in. Highs mid to upper 90s across the area. Let's check your forecast. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a check of Consumer Watch.
All right, well, today President Biden heads to Palo Alto, California to tour coastal wetlands and tout his administration's investments in climate commitments. This week, the Biden administration is launching a $575 million climate resistance regional challenge aimed at helping communities become better able to withstand extreme weather and other impacts of climate change. Members of the Teamsters Union, which represents about 340,000 workers at UPS, voted overwhelmingly on Friday to strike if no agreement is reached with the package delivery company by the time the current contract expires on July 31st. The union is seeking higher pay, the elimination of so-called two-tier wages, where newer workers are paid less than older employees for the same job, the removal of surveillance cameras from delivery trucks, and more full-time jobs. If the strike occurs, it could be the biggest labor walkout in the U.S. since the 1950s. Warner Brothers' The Flash topped the box office this Father's Day weekend, earning $55 million domestically. It was followed by Disney's latest Pixar film, Elemental, which grossed close to $30 million domestically. Overall, it was a disappointing weekend, though, with ticket sales for both films falling short of studio expectations. Well, the private data of millions of Americans compromised officials in Oregon and Louisiana say anyone with a driver's license in those states could be victims of a sprawling cyber attack, also impacting the U.S. federal government. Gloria Pazmino has more on who could be behind the attack and what you can do to protect yourself.
A global cyber attack, likely exposing the private data of millions of Americans and hitting U.S. agencies, including the Department of Energy.
This is an ongoing investigation impacting not just Louisiana, but major businesses, governmental entities, and organizations around the world.
Federal officials are blaming a Russian-speaking gang of hackers who call themselves KOAM. They are known to demand multi-million-dollar ransoms to delete the data.
We don't have a full understanding of what the impacts are or whether there are impacts, but we're working through it very aggressively.
The attack is part of a broader and ongoing hacking campaign exploiting a vulnerability in a program called MoveIt, a popular tool for transferring data. The company behind the software says they are working to fix vulnerabilities in their code.
Most of the time, the security people in organizations are very technical people, incredibly smart people. Unfortunately, what I find is they sometimes forget about that human element.
Cybersecurity expert Eric Kahn says organizations should also focus on the dangers of social engineering, scamming people to give up vital information.
If we can get the human element handled in the cybersecurity side, then we would see a whole lot less of this stuff in the news.
In New York, I'm Gloria Pasmino.
Well, there's no stocks to report as the market is closed for the holiday. We'll be right back after the break.
Cameron Hall, this morning at 10, right here on Fox 14.
As we've mentioned, today marks Juneteenth, a day where many celebrate and commemorate the end of slavery in Galveston, Texas, back in 1865, ending slavery, of course, in America.
Joe Baker was at Juneteenth at McAdams Park to talk with those in attendance.
Just relaxing, having a good time, just, community coming together.
Wichitans spending their Saturday at Juneteenth ICT at McAdams Park. The hot weather didn't stop people from showing up, leading to busy crowds. The Juneteenth ICT celebration is happening all weekend long through the Juneteenth holiday Monday and has plenty of food, drinks, and events to offer. The festivities Saturday kicked off with a parade. The fun doesn't stop there. A Juneteenth gospel concert is slated for Sunday night. Many food and drink vendors are located throughout McAdams Park for those in attendance to enjoy through the Juneteenth holiday Monday. All say everyone is welcome to attend.
Just a good atmosphere, good eating, just come and expect to have a good time.
And to let everybody know that we are here to acknowledge all people. Now, it's not just because of the black people, it's people, period.
For those in attendance Saturday, they say the Juneteenth holiday means a lot to them.
It's hard to put into words because a lot of people suffered and died so we could have this day.
It's a celebration for us as a group, our independence, being free, allowed to do a lot of things that we weren't normally able to. We haven't always been able to celebrate. We haven't always been able to express ourselves in a free way.
Of course, it's great that Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, something that can be recognized, something important in America's history to be recognized.
Another reason to celebrate in June. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Well, you're not going to be celebrating this forecast as temperatures begin to climb across the region. Now, this morning, we're looking pretty good, not too bad. We've got ourselves a live look at the MoDOT camera, 20th and Range line. One last time this morning, you can see we've got clear skies in Joplin, plentiful sunshine. Still a little bit of fog there on the camera from KDOT at 69 and East 520th, just south of Pittsburgh, and just a little bit from our camera here at the KOAM studios, just north of Crestline. We look at our camera at 7th, or sorry, no, that's a lie. We're going to look at the fog tracker first. Still some patchy fog out there, but as you can see, the majority of it beginning to burn off across the area. Now our camera at 7th and Range line. There it is. We got sunny skies, clear skies, blue skies out there. Looks great. Not bad right now. 64, dew point at 62, humidity 93%. So it's going to be just a little bit muggy as we go through today. Across the region, 66 Nevada, Pittsburgh, 65 Fort Scott, Chatopa. We're sitting at 66 in Miami. We get our morning started. We're going to see that fog continue to burn off. We're going to go sunny skies near 80 by late morning. We'll have another look at the forecast for the day and week ahead and the news you need to know right after this.
To salute Merle Rouse, a four-state hero.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Saturday night storms caused damage throughout the 4 states. These are photos sent in by viewers from Joplin, Neosho, Carthage, Pittsburgh, Miami, Wyandotte, Tulsa, Grand Lake, and Jenks. As you can see, trees were knocked over and in some cases damaged homes and vehicles. The storms also took out power for hundreds of area residents. Well, the city of Grove, Oklahoma hit especially hard. The National Weather Service issued a tornado warning there late Saturday night, but there were no reports of anything touching down. However, the strong winds brought down lots of trees and power lines. Hundreds of residents were without power for much of the day, with some still reporting outages. And today marks Juneteenth, a holiday commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States. One of the 4 states' most prominent figures, George Washington Carver, was born into slavery in 1864. And because of that, the celebration of Juneteenth takes place on additional importance in the 4 states, as the George Washington Carver National Park was founded in 1943, the first national park dedicated to an African American. Speaking of Juneteenth, Bookhouse Cinema in Easttown Dreams District in Joplin celebrates Juneteenth, a day-long celebration featuring a variety of activities. Saturday's event featured vendors, a 5K run, free movies, and dance performances.
All right, if you're doing any cleanup after the weekend storms, make sure you stay hydrated out there and take breaks, as we've got sunny skies, no clouds expected, highs near 90 degrees today and staying a bit on the muggy side. Heading into this evening, we stay clear, we stay mild, overnight lows into the upper 60s. For a first day of summer, we're heading for temperatures upper 80s, low 90s. We go into the weekend, we're looking at mid 90s, maybe some pop-up storms on Sunday. Saturday night's low just still blows my mind as to how close to summer we're getting here as we go back into the upper 70s.
Well, one of the world's largest kite festivals opens on the west coast of Denmark. Over the weekend, visitors and kite enthusiasts could turn their heads to the sky and admire up to 20,000 kites dancing in the steady North Sea breeze.
The west coast of Denmark is exposed to strong and consistent winds from the west, passing the island's flat terrain and dunes, allowing for uninterrupted airflow. A generation of kite builders from around the world have been visiting the area, many since their youth. Today, though, we're looking at calm winds here in the 4 states. Not a good day to fly a kite here, but if you have time to go to Denmark today, go fly a kite.
I know in a couple of Saturdays, I think in a couple of weekends, there's going to be a big kite flying festival or kite event that you can participate. You have to check that out.
We can
on
get some
Facebook.
wind going for all of that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.